What's up, everyone? In today's video, we're going to be looking at how I build a hyper-targeted cold email list in under 20 minutes using Clay and AI. Now, every cold email campaign is only as good as the list it sends to. The copy can be sharp, the offer can be compelling, even the infrastructure can be perfect, but a bad list will still produce bad results. Now, most people spend too much time on copy and not enough on the list. Now, the operators that are consistently booking meetings have the ratio inverted. Now, this doc covers the exact process for building a hyper-targeted cold email list using Apollo, Boomerang, and Clay in under 20 minutes. Now, if you're new here, my name is Dominic Schwantes. I'm the founder of Workflows, a B2B AI lead generation agency. I document everything I do in real time, the campaigns, the systems, and the results. And what you'll find in this document is based on what actually works, not just some theory. So, in terms of the full workflow overview, the list building workflow has three phases. Phase 1 is the targeting, which uses Apollo's free search interface to define exactly who the list should contain. Phase number 2 is the scraping, which is where we use Boomerang to scrape the Apollo search results into a CSV without paying Apollo stupidly high pricing. And phase 3 is the enrichment, using the CSV, uploading it to Clay, and running the automated workflow that verifies, enriches, personalizes, and filters the data, and exports a clean campaign-ready list. Now, each phase takes about 5 to 7 minutes for a familiar niche. Now, for a new niche, the targeting phase can take longer as the filters need testing and you need time to configure each of the main columns. So before we get started, I thought I would show you and revisit the pricing for Apollo versus Clay. Now, Apollo versus Boomerang. Now, the Apollo pricing is crazy high. So the free tier gives you 100 credits, which is basically nothing at $0. And then it jumps straight to $60 a month, which gives you 2,500 credits. Now, if you look at the Boomerang pricing, it's $3 per 1,000 leads. So for $60, you're essentially getting 20,000 leads, which is a lot more. Now, when you come over to Boomerang after you create an account, you just enter the URL after you've added all your filters on Apollo. Just name the file whatever you want, say how many leads you need, leave don't verify as on because we'll do that in Clay later for a bit cheaper, and leave Apollo verified emails on, and then just click get my leads. And just like that, you should get them in under 24 hours. So phase number 1 is the targeting in Apollo. Now, this is the pretty simple part after you've defined your ICP before coming into Apollo, but you just navigate down to people on the left-hand side, and you just work through the filters from most important to least important. So your screen should look like this now that we're in V2 of Apollo, and the main ones you want to focus on are email status, which should be verified, job title, which should be founders, CEOs, managing directors, that kind of thing. And then location should be US or Australia or wherever you're trying to target, and the industry. So this is for staffing and recruitment, which is what I've added here. Now, for the employee range, you want roughly between 3 to 15, but in Apollo's filters, it'll be 1 to 10 and 11 to 20. Those are the main 4 you really need. Now, for the job title filter, this is the single most important filter on the Apollo section, because this defines whether the person can say yes or no to the offer immediately. Now, for AI automation, targeting trades businesses, you'd want owner, founder, director, managing director, and operations manager. And for professional services such as accounting, law services, and law firms, you'd want to add the principal, partner, and the practice manager. Now, each individual title acts as a separate entry, but Apollo matches contacts where the title contains any of those keywords, so you can add as many relevant ones as you'd like. Now, I would avoid titles that are too broad, such as manager, because that returns everyone from marketing manager to office manager, most of whom cannot make a buying decision. Now, for the industry, Apollo organizes industries hierarchically, so drill into subcategories for more targeted results. So for tradespeople, for example, you should be looking at subcategories under construction, facility services, and real estate. And for professional services, you should be looking at legal services, accounting, and financial services. Now, select the one that's most specific to the subcategory that you're going after. If the result count is too low, just move up one or add adjacent subcategories. Now, if it is too low, just go to the one above, and when we put it into Clay, we can begin to sort by the ICP more narrowly. Now, for the employee count filter, like we spoke about before, you want roughly about 10 to 20. That is definitely a typo. We do not want 200 employees. We want 20. I did it here. Now, the proxy for the company size. For small to medium-sized businesses, target should be where one person makes the decision, and the right range is typically 10 to 20. If it's under 10, it's often too small for the process complexity that makes automation valuable. If it's over 20, the committee buying process and sales cycles are usually longer. Particularly if you're targeting industries like staffing and recruitment and government, the procurement cycles are long and the sales cycle is at least 6 months. Now, some industries like construction skew towards smaller headcounts for owner-operated businesses, which are worth targeting. So just adjust based on the niche that you're trying to go after. Now, for the location, email status, and the operational filters. For the filter, just search by country first, then state or city. For Australian campaigns, set to Australia and then add specific states. Or if you're in America, you can go by county, particularly if you're testing a new niche. Now, for email status, just enable the filter showing only contacts where Apollo has the email data. Scraping contacts without email data generally produces useless rows. Now, in terms of the technologies offered, this is optional but powerful. So filter for companies using Xero, Airflow, Jobber, and any other industry-specific softwares to find businesses with the infrastructure that your automation can connect to. Now, for the hiring activity, this is also optional, but something to keep in mind is that companies posting for operations or admin roles are signaling scaling problems directly relevant to an automation pitch. Now, before scraping, scroll through the first 20 to 30 results to check that the contacts look right. Check the job titles are decision makers, company sizes are within the correct range, and the industries are matching. And then if the result count is too high, you can narrow down a little bit further. A list of 10,000 vaguely targeted contacts produces worse results, obviously, than 500 precisely targeted ones. And specificity is the whole point of all of this. Now, phase number 2 is the scraping within Boomerang. Now, Boomerang is a cloud-based service similar to Apollo that pulls contact data from Apollo using search results into a CSV. Now, without burning credits through Apollo's native export credits, we use Apollo, which you just paste in the URL, set your Apollo filters, and then you're good to go. Then connect your Boomerang into Apollo search by literally copying and pasting the total URL. Make sure it's got all the individual little filters in the URL. Otherwise, Boomerang will not be able to find them. Set the number of contacts to scrape, like we spoke about above. And for a campaign targeting 500 verified contacts, scrape more than you think. Because particularly when you put them into Clay, it will eliminate some because they won't have an email and they won't have some of the other key data that you'll be searching for. Now, the pass rate is typically 70 to 80%, but Zero Bounce does flag some that are not valid. Now, the CSV should include first name, last name, email, company name, job title, LinkedIn URL, and the website domain. Now, these map directly into Clay's input fields, so you will have to map them when you upload that CSV. Now, after you've uploaded that CSV, make sure they are mapped. And I've done this mistake so many times. I've forgotten to map like the domain, so I've had to remove all of the 5,000 plus leads that I've added and go back through. So double check to make sure each column is mapped properly. Now, with the workflow columns already configured from the previous campaigns, if you've done this before, then you just have to click Run All. Now, the Clay processes each column for every single row simultaneously. So if you haven't done this before, it will take you a little bit of time. But if you already have your table just duplicated over, it'll take you under 5 minutes. Now, let's go over some of the key columns that you're going to need. The first is the Zero Bounce status. Now, you can also use Mailtester Ninja if you want. But keep in mind that you will have to have a Clay plan that is not the free one. I think it's the second highest, at least, which is a couple of $100 a month. And Zero Bounce, you can get unlimited verifications for $99. So it is the cheaper option. Now, the API verification, integration verification will do each email and will return valid, invalid, catch-all, or unknown. Now, when we get up to the filtering, you will want to only make sure that it returns valid. Now, for those of you who don't know what catch-all is, essentially it just sends all emails to a broad domain, such as at apple.com. Every single email directed to an employee, whether it's Phil, Alex, will go to that one email, and not many people look at that. So hence it tanks all of the deliverability. So we want to avoid that. Next is the company summary. The website scrape of each company's homepage, returning a 2 to 3 sentence description, and a personalization line using Claude or OpenAI to generate a unique opening line for each contact based on the company summary. One sentence under 20 words and a conversational tone will be just great. Now, in terms of the filtering, like we just said, you want to make sure that the zero status for every email is valid, that it returns, because we don't want to send ones that will tank our domain and inbox deliverability. Now, for 650 to 700 contacts, the full run should take 15 to 20 minutes tops, but it will only take 5 minutes just to make sure everything is configured. You can go away and write the email copy whilst that table is running. Now, in terms of reviewing everything, check the filtered row count. Now, this is the number of verified contacts for the campaign. Spot check 10 to 15 personalization lines. They should sound like a real person wrote them, not some generic AI slop. And if they look generic or reference for some reason, review the prompt and summary column, summary column, and go back and make sure that that sounds like a human wrote it. Now, confirm the filter is active before exporting. I've also done this before as well. Make sure that you have filters on. There's a little eye mask, a little eye button, horrible drawing of an eye, but there will be a slash through it uh, if it's not on. So you should see that there are some rows that are not being included in the final export result. So once you see that, then just click export and download the CSV, and that's what you upload into SmartLead. Now, for a familiar niche with Apollo search and configured clay tables, the Apollo filter should take 3 to 5 minutes, and the boomerang scrape should take 2 minutes. Now, it will take 24 hours to get back to you, just FYI. But in terms of your actual time to paste in the URL and name the file and everything, 2 to 5 minutes, absolute tops. Now, the clay import and run, it is a 2-minute setup. If it's the first time doing it, it'll take more than 15 minutes, just so you make sure that all of the prompts and everything are correct. And your review should take maximum 5 minutes. So your total active time is approximately 15 to 20 minutes, and the most elapsed time is waiting for clay, during which you can write your cold email copy. And by the time you're finished with that, your clay table should be done. For a brand new niche, it should take 30 minutes, just FYI. Now, some common mistakes to avoid. Scraping more than you need is one of the most common things that people don't do because they try and play conservative, but always go for more. Now, calculate the required volume based on the campaign target and expected verification pass rate. Next is skipping the Apollo sample review. Now, 5 minutes checking the results before scraping is always worth the time than spending over 30 minutes scraping everything and wasting all your clay credits, only to find out that your data is not correct and your ICP is not in most of these results. The third thing is not saving the Apollo search templates. Save your configurations for your repeated niches. So if you're doing staffing and recruitment and you're changing one variable each time, you can just preload that into Apollo and you can just change the employee range, for example, or the country that you're targeting. Now, running the export without checking personalization lines is one of the biggest mistakes you can make. Now, a failed website scrape produces a generic or nonsensical first line, so definitely spot check before you export it. So what this means for you: a 20-minute list build is achievable once the workflow is set up and the niche is familiar. The first line definitely takes the first line obviously takes longer if it's your first time doing it, but the 10th time and the 20th time will take a fraction of the time if you actually invest the time initially to get this set up. Now, the investment is in the setup. Configuring clay once, learning Apollo filters that produce quality results, and building the habit of reviewing before scraping the first time is definitely worth the while and will save you hundreds of hours in the future because you'll do this far more than 20 times. Now, after that, every single campaign with a clean, verified, personalized list has built in the time that it takes to write the email copy. The two processes run in parallel, and the campaign is ready to launch in under an hour. So if you're a business owner and need more clients, that's what we do. We run done for you cold email. Our campaigns are hitting 22% positive reply rates right now. If you want us to do the same for your business, click the link in the description to apply, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any new videos on the channel, and I look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's video.